better than the crystal ball we were using
for
before.
sure. Definitely way better than what we had.
Yeah.
Because of the mentoring with the staff that we have, it is making them see, because the next topic is production, so it is making them see the flow through the factory, and they're now starting to see the frustrations and getting frustrated themselves.
That's
not
great.
in a negative way, but they can now see it.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if they hadn't have had the mentoring, they probably wouldn't, because you have all the other staff in your ear all the time, and they're like, they'll never see it from a different perspective. It's just, well, I do all these long hours and we're getting nowhere, and etc. Whereas when you start mentoring them and trying to give them a different perspective from like a management point of view, or even just kind of as a valued employee rather than just another number, once they kind of get that mindset out of the way, then they start to pick up themselves of like, oh, he's not doing this, which means there's a I don't know what word to use, black spot, a lull in the flow of production, and then they start picking it out and like saying to other people, why don't you do this and this? So it makes your job a lot easier too, because you're not having to be the one that says it all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like with that, it takes it from being that person's not doing this to, if you need help with this, we can, get this fixed and then get this out the door for the customer. So it takes it like from being attacking a person to, can we just fix it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've had an instance, I think it was just beginning of this week, where somebody, because we did the poem about For the Want of a Nail, because there's a couple of instances, but on one, I think somebody didn't do something that they were asked, that somebody else had seen some bottleneck happening. So if you just drop on and do this for 5 minutes, it would be okay. But because they didn't then do that, it cost us an hour later on down the production line. How that compounded those 5 minutes made a 10-minute problem here, which then made a 20-minute problem here. And it was an hour's difference by the end of that line. And it's, like I say, it's trying to educate people from the blinkered bit that they're working on. They could be absolutely smashing it out on one thing, but if it's not in line with the needs of the whole company production line, it could affect other people. So yeah, definitely, like I say, with Serena's mentoring of Connor, you can see he's now starting to look at bigger areas of the production and spot things. And then you can see, I think it's that you just watch the phases. What's the thing where you go through like 7 phases of when like a breakup or something? Grief is it, denial and everything else. It's like that. We could probably put that down as a lean thing and figure those stages out. But there's the awakening part, but then they see what they're doing, and then they suddenly see what everybody else is not doing, and then they're just really frustrated because it's like, why can't you see what I can see? And it's like, yeah, that's why we were frustrated with you, so then they see that, and then it's like, how do they now get from this point to get the other people to understand? Because I've seen, I think Sean and Connor were talking in a meeting yesterday. Sean was saying something, so he clearly couldn't grasp the bigger picture. Connor could, and you could see the frustration on his face because he couldn't explain it or articulate in a way that Sean would understand it. So you could see that, and it's like, right, so where's the next level of it? And I think some of that comes from by having the good morning meetings, by having the good videos that come up to then help balance those conversations, because then it gives them context to walk away, for Connor to say, hey, Sean, in the morning meeting I was talking about this, and we saw this video, this is what I feel is affecting your area here. And it gives him something to reference, and it's not just one person attacking somebody else, saying you're not doing your job properly, or you're not working fast enough, and things like that. It gives them context to it.
So we have had a slight drop in lead time over the past quarter. So
yes,
last quarter, was it 40 odd days?
The highest it was 47 working days. I don't know if that was last quarter or not, but that's the highest it's been ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we are sat between 23 and 25 days.
And there's been a compound effect of a sickness bout that I think went through. There's been some annual holidays because she was that holiday period section with the mock school, so there was that happening. So all holidays mashed together, as well as
Training.
More training pushed in than help, because there was new people coming in. So new people obviously they've got to train less slower anyway to start with, plus they've got to take training time, which takes somebody else out of production to train. And what was the other thing on there? No, it's gone. But things have conspired against us.
The training has got a little bit more. This quarter we did sit in on the training meeting and realise that they were nothing like kind of what they should have been. So like no real agenda and no kind of real direct outcomes for it. So I wasn't in last week's, but they are kind of working down a checklist now, and cards are getting allocated into production to take training time into consideration. And it seems like because for anybody listening, we run our production on Trello, and it's a great board. We put all our holidays on there and stuff like that, and we run it all through, so it's now actually more accurate on the board. You can see who's going to be off, what training's happening, what servicing's happening. So we have redefined the production board only a little bit over the past 3 months. So
I think whole big project, but the automation of the transport as well. With all of that data in that one sheet, we can now take into account when allocating production any holidays, any training, morning meetings, etc. Whereas before we were just loading everything for the day, and whether you had 2 people in or 10 people in, it didn't differentiate. It was just kind of, you still got to get all this out. Whereas now we can put that in, it takes it into account, and it can push things on, which isn't amazing, but it works better in the sense that you're not promising a customer something that you know that's not going to happen. At least you're being honest with customers.
Yeah. The other thing it gives us is, because it's predicting dates as a daily date through now to the end of the workload, I think customers are appreciating the fact that we can give them live tracking on the expectations of when something's going to go. Yeah. You're not in agreement with that?
I am not in agreement.
I don't mean as in the Friday update. I mean if somebody rings up now, they can see on the list where the prediction is of that date of manufacture, whereas we didn't have that before. We would know when a vehicle would be going out, when it should go out, but if production's behind, the date of that vehicle is still the date of the vehicle that was booked. But if production is pulled forward or slips, that run is that run, unless Dale keeps redating everything. The point of the sheet now is it doesn't have to redate anything because it's all automated. If production slips or production increases, that predicted date of manufacture will move up or move down.
The only problem is that yes, it's live to us, it isn't live to the customer, and we have no way of knowing if that date has changed from when we told the customer.
Correct, yes.
That's the only issue. That's what I mean by it's live-ish. Ish.
We can work with ish.
Yeah, well, you've got something to work on for next.
It's better than the crystal ball we were using
for
before.
Sure. Definitely way better than what we had.
Yeah.
Please don't tell everybody how unorganised we actually are. We're really organised.
It's only because we ran out of tea leaves to read.
But yeah, that was a huge project that Ash worked on, got all the automation sorted, which obviously does give us more accurate data to be able to go to a customer with. That happened, when did that go live?
About a month
few,
ago.
Yeah, before we went
6
away.
weeks ago, something like that.
But
yeah, we'll just keep tweaking it.
Yeah, it's an ongoing project. We've obviously got quite a few more updates that we want to make to it. And at some point, I don't think it's going to be next quarter, but at some point we want to then have customers able to access that data in live view, because that'd be awesome. But I don't know when that's going to happen.
So we have done a lot with the production meetings for the morning and the afternoon. So Serena kindly recorded those because I'd put things together, put like a checklist together. I think with Serena or with Ash, I'd work with someone, put a checklist together, and then we're like, great, that's all done. This is the trust but verify that never happens with me. I just trust people are going to get on with it. And then I have like Serena and Ash say, no, it doesn't actually happen like that, Michelle. And I'm like, yeah, of course it does. And then Serena filmed that, and I was like, no, it doesn't happen. She's so right. So I was full on eating crow after that.
Was that a bit of a shock to you to see the actual meeting?
But I just literally think that I put things in place and I say, right, is this going to help you? Yeah, that's great, thanks. And then it doesn't happen. And then it's like, well, as like a human being, it's like, well, why would you not tell me that it doesn't work like that? Or like, why? We're the same, are we not?
I think, I think because we see things from one point of view and think, if you just ask all of these questions, you will help yourselves, will help the flow of production. And then they don't do that because they think, oh, that's all right. We've kind of answered that question and haven't really.
There was yesterday when I was talking with Serena and Faye, was how you can tell somebody something or they're struggling with something. So you say, okay, we'll do this. And they go, okay then. And then they go off. And then you find out it's not being done or still doesn't work. And you say, right, so did you do that? No. Well, why? Well, I just thought.
Yeah, we did. Yesterday we were just kind of like, the amount of times you hear people just go, well, I had a little think about it and don't you think that's right?
So after seeing that, I know Serena's put some slides together for the morning and afternoon production meeting. So I have got them to speak to Jessie with, just to see like if he needs me to do anything with them, and hopefully they will help. Hopefully. But we'll see. That is to be determined, I think.
I think looking at it from an external point, from a lean aspect, the differences that we try and be as a company is it's easy to give somebody some instruction and host a meeting, and they're not kind of doing it right. So you're either bringing them in and shouting at them because they're not doing it right, or you're firing them, or you're moving them out of the way and putting somebody else in, or you just stop doing it because it's not effective and things like that. But I think from a lean perspective, if you really do your reflection on and ask, if you blame don't blame the person, blame the process, which is super difficult, because like you say, you just expect something to operate on your level at the same thing, and why would they not do it? And if it doesn't, why would they not come tell you? From the lean perspective, definitely, we always come back to trust but verify. Then I think you look at it and think, why are those meetings not working originally? Why, if you put a question up there but they ask it slightly differently, they don't read what you asked, or they think, well, I'm not asked that one at all. When you look at it, most of it is because it's fear of conflict. They know if they ask it in that way, if the balance isn't right between them and the people they're talking to, they would see that as a criticism or something. There's conflict there. So because of their fear of conflict, they don't want to ask that question.
We kind of said yesterday how people tend to avoid certain things, again, not to cause an argument with anybody, but it's more so they think oh god, I forgot what's going on.
Sorry. So sorry.
No, it's fine.
He's about to lay into Michelle about something.
I think my internet's going off rapidly. Yeah, and I'm horrendous with the trust but verify and the fear of conflict, because I just assume that everybody is nicey and would just tell you the truth if it wasn't right. But yeah, that makes sense what you've just said, Ash, about they won't ask it for the fear of conflict. But again, it comes back to onboarding a great team. It all comes back to onboarding. Go.
I'm so sorry. We said today, when we ask a question, it's not at you for you to answer, it's for everybody to collectively work together to make it happen or to answer it. I don't know if I'm wording this really well, but I think the question was, how are you going to make that happen? And he took it quite personally and was quite defensive with it. But when we'd spoken to him afterwards, it's like, no, we're not asking you directly on how you're going to make it happen. It's as a team, how are you all going to make it happen?
Yeah.
But I think that's where we struggle with things, is because they feel like when a question is asked, it is directly at them, and it's how they are by themselves going to make this thing happen. And it's not, it's how are we as a company going to make sure this is happening.
Yeah.
So I think he was all right after we'd spoken to him, but definitely he took that quite personally at the time.
I think that's the lean aspect of it. It's the looking deeper, caring enough to look deeper. If you're trying to grow people and say, right, look, if we get him to read the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and he can understand the fear of conflict, or he can read the advantage, then he would learn some things to have conversations. Plus, he can then teach that to somebody else when he comes up against somebody with it. He can help teach as well. I think that should be the difference in us as a company to others. Okay, so to round off the production section of this then, we have been doing a lot of work on the ops side of it, with the daily, weekly, monthly processes being written up, and videoing some of the automated tasks so people know how they work, and if there's issues or glitches or whatever, we know how to take care of it to keep things running smoothly. Michelle, you has been the one that's been writing it up.
Yeah, I've been working with Jessie. Sorry, my voice is going. Been working with Jessie to get a lot of these put together. There's still many that need doing, but yeah, we've got, and it's actually been quite eye-opening, because some of the processes that Jessie does with the Kanbans, so on the our Kanbans are on a Google sheet, and they're all kind of, I want to say almost automated from that Google sheet. Is that the correct word to say? There is some actual stuff that needs to happen on Xero with it as well. So Xero is used for our purchasing. So because he actually does the Kanbans, but he doesn't realise that there's stuff actually to do behind the scenes. So I think it's been a little bit eye-opening for him as well with that, because it's not, you do need access to Xero as well when you're creating purchasing Kanbans, which you didn't realise. So it has been quite good. I've learnt a lot, and I'm pretty sure he's probably learnt a lot from the processes being written up.
Yeah. There's another instance that when somebody else is looking at somebody else's job, again, it's never to pick fault in what they're doing, but it's the whole, when you have somebody else look at it, they ask questions that you've just made assumptions about.
Yeah, true.
And when they ask you why do you do that, ultimately sometimes I don't know why I do that.
I've always done it.
Yeah,
Always done
that's
it
my favourite.